In section 8.3, we'll look at covalent bonding. Covalent bonding is the sharing of electrons, unlike ionic bonding where electrons were actually stolen or transferred to something else. There are general rules to this covalent bonding, or this sharing of electrons. Rule number one is that things share to get a noble gas configuration of electrons, to get an octet, 8 electrons if they can, a duet if they're less electrons, like hydrogen, for example, to become helium. Use dots to represent this when you're showing covalent bonding. The dots represent electrons around an atom. We also use dashes to represent the shared pairs of electrons and to show that 2 electrons are being shared by 2 different atoms. We use these things called Lewis structures to represent the molecules. And the word molecule technically means something that is covalently bonded, meaning that electrons are shared. So the words covalent and molecular are sometimes used interchangeably. So let's take a look at drawing one of these general rule pieces of a covalently bonded substance. I'll just scoot this paper over here to this side, and then we'll do sample exercise 8.3 right here. Given the compound that is made of 2 nonmetals called nitrogen trifluoride, please draw the structure that nitrogen and fluorine would form to make that nitrogen trifluoride. Well, the first thing you want to do is look at the periodic table, and you want to find out that nitrogen is in group 15, therefore has 5 valence electrons, and then fluorine is in group 17, so it has 7 valence electrons. So you take 5 dots and put it around the nitrogen, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you take fluorine and you put 7 dots around it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And notice that there's 3 of these fluorines, so you put a 3 right here in front of the fluorine. Now when we draw the Lewis structure of this, there will be 1 nitrogen, and then that nitrogen would go and share 1 electron right here with each of the fluorines, because each fluorine needs 1 electron to have 8. And so let's just draw it this way, where 1 dot right here from the nitrogen would go with a fluorine right here that has 2, 4, 6, and then 8 right here, so that would be 8 electrons right there. And then this fluorine right here would share 1 electron with the nitrogen right here. And then this fluorine right here would have 2, 4, 6, 7, and would share that electron with this side of the nitrogen, and then it would have what's called an unshared pair of electrons right here. Electrons that aren't shared with something else are called unshared, or aka lone, like alone by themselves, pairs. So unshared pair or a lone pair. That's what this would be. And so this would indicate that the nitrogen is going to share 1 electron with this fluorine, 1 electron with this fluorine, 1 electron with this fluorine. And as we get just a little bit further along, we'll actually replace these 2 shared, these 2 shared, and these 2 shared with little dashes. And so we'll end up drawing it like this. And we'd have this unshared or lone pair right here on the nitrogen. And this would be what's called our Lewis electron dot structure for NM3. More on that in the future, because there's lots of rules about how to draw good Lewis electron dot structures. There are also possibilities that we'll have multiple bonds. Single bonds, of course, are just this dash right here, 2 electrons that are shared. There are double bonds. Carbon dioxide has double bonds, where it double bonds with an oxygen on each side like this, ends up sharing 8 electrons like this, and then oxygen right here ends up with 2, 4, 6, 8 electrons, and this oxygen ends up with 8 electrons, and then this carbon right here in the middle has 2, 4, 6, 8 electrons around it as well. Triple bonds form once in a while as well. Nitrogen, diatomic nitrogen, has a triple bond, and so that means that there's 2, 4, 6 electrons shared between the 2 nitrogens, giving this 8 electrons right here, and this 8 electrons right here as well. So in covalent bonding, remember that it's the sharing of electrons, and We'll find in the next video that sometimes there's an uneven sharing of electrons, and then we represent that sharing of electron using dots, what are called Lewis electron dot structures. And then the line right here indicates that there's 2 electrons being shared between 2 atoms. More on dot structures and unequal sharing soon.